Join us.
Let's walk the talk.
This is 702.
The G20 Correspondence Desk on 702 is proudly brought to you by RMB and FNB, divisions of First Rand Bank Limited. Well, let's talk a bit about the G20 now. Isaah Mhlanga is the chief economist at RMB. You're sitting opposite me now, Isaah. Is this a money show joke? How's it?
Very well, Steve.
Good. It's a bit early, isn't it? The G20 Finance and Infrastructure Task Force, why does that exist? What's it for?
Look, if you look at development across the world, it's underpinned by infrastructure. Much of the developing world, particularly Africa, has been left behind in critical infrastructure. If you just look in terms of our intra-African trade, it's the lowest across all the continents. In part, it is because of bad infrastructure. It could be road infrastructure, port infrastructure. It could be, airports infrastructure for air cargo. All of those things requires to be done and efficient and price efficient in terms of how much does it cost companies to ship goods between countries. Until then, we are not going to realize the free continental Africa trade that we are embarking on.
How important is the private sector in infrastructure development? There's so much talk about the private sector in our society. Is it the same across the continent?
It is the same across the continent. It's pretty much the same globally. The private sector plays a critical role. It's quite obvious. There is a lot of evidence which shows governments alone cannot deliver the critical infrastructure that is required. You can look at it from a fiscal perspective. There are constraints, which means we need the private sector financing, but also the innovation in terms of the financing products, which is where we come. We are an investment bank, which means financial products, innovative that matter is what we do on a daily basis. So we can bring that, but also we channel funds from those that have excess funds to where the funds are limited, which means we have that ability to make sure that we coordinate these financial instruments to the places where they are required. And being a Pan-African, a player, we play that role quite well in many African countries that require the financing.
Institutions like RMB, private capital, this is quite important for infrastructure investment. It's not really going to happen without capital.
Absolutely. It's not going to happen without capital. Just think about in our own country issues with Eskom and energy deficiency. The private sector put in more than 300 billion worth of capital into renewable energy. That is money that government does not have to spend because the private sector has stepped in. But there is still need for de-risking some of the project from the public sector, on top of which the private sector can fund and complete the projects.
I presume that however much money we put into infrastructure investment is going to have a big impact on economic growth one way or another. You don't invest in water, you're not going to have water. It's all the same for the economy.
Absolutely. We have done a lot of research to figure which sectors need investment for the economy to grow in a way that creates jobs. Agriculture, manufacturing, logistics, and all of those things require an underpinning infrastructure. We also have this rural-urban migration phenomenon that's taking place across the continent, which means cities are increasingly overburdened by the need to provide that infrastructure. And that's where we need the investments to flow in to make sure that when people move to urban areas, they find places that have water, that have electricity, that have sewage removal, processes to make sure that the areas where people go, they are habitable.
Isaah Mhlanga, so good to see you. Thanks very much indeed. We should do this earlier, more often.
Absolutely.
The chief economist at RMB. Hosted in Africa for the first time, this year's G20 summit focuses on solidarity, equality and sustainability. Bringing you news and insights from the summit, tune into the G20 Correspondence Desk. Brought to you by RMB and FNB, proud sponsors of this year's G20 summit. Guided by the spirit of Ubuntu, RMB and FNB empower communities. They are committed to a sustainable future and are deeply invested in humanity. RMB and FNB are divisions of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and credit provider.